Professor Faizan Mustafa sir is with us. Professor Faizan Mustafa sir is a senior constitutional law teacher who is presently working as the Vice-Chancellor of Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad. He was the recipient of both Commonwealth Scholarship as well as Fulbright. He was conferred the SARC's Best Law Teacher Award in the year 2014. He was the president and the vice president of the prestigious Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute, which was incorporated in Canada in 1968 and is binational organization of Canadian and Indian government. He was also the president of Consortium of National Law Universities. He is the founder vice chancellor of National Law University Odisha. He is the advisor to National Law School and Judicial Academy Assam. He is known for his institution building abilities and democratic leadership. He is also visiting faculty of several reputed institutions in India and abroad. He was the founder director of KIT Law School, Bhubaneswar. Prior to that, he was the Dean Faculty of Law, Aligarh Muslim University, where he had introduced courses like IPR law, human rights law, and tourism laws. He also served with distinction as Registrar of Aligarh Muslim University. He has written 8 books and contributed more than 250 articles. Supreme Court of India has also quoted him number of times. Recently, also in Sabrimala judgment, his research paper was quoted by the Supreme Court of India. His article have also been quoted in several other countries. He was also one of the contributors to famous Encyclopedia of Legal History published by the Oxford University Press, United States of America. He regularly writes in the leading newspapers and magazines on the current legal issues. He is the member of several governing councils, executive councils, and academic councils of various universities. He is the nominee of the Chief Justice of India to several councils and committees. He is also visitor's nominee in number of universities. He has also been the member of such committees for the appointment of the vice-chancellors. He also has been the member of General Council of Association of Indian Universities. I would like to request you, sir, to kindly address the session. Please, sir.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Tabriz Ahmad, Dr. Afkar Ahmad, you can see Dr. Preeti and Azim Pathan, Dr. Tariq, Amresh, and some 35 others. Varnita Verma is there. Many thanks for inviting me. My consistent stand has been that nothing is to be taught to a teacher, as nothing can be taught. Even to students, I am not in favor of teaching anything. We have lost wisdom in knowledge and knowledge in information. So everyone knows everything today. In fact, the Vedic saying, Sa Vidyaya Vimukte, the education or true education emancipates, has also been now proved problematic, because today education is not emancipating people. It is making them sectarian, communal, narrow-minded, absolutely selfish. So at a stage of my life where I am, I don't see true education. I don't see teachers who are passionate about teaching. And I don't see students who have highest respect for their teachers and elders. And therefore we are living, hello? Class. So we are living in strange times. Two things in my career as teacher I never taught. One, research methodology. I don't think you need any teaching in research. It is like swimming. No one can teach you swimming through lectures. You have to go into waters to learn it. Similarly, you have to do the research to learn it. It is only at the end of your PhD or research that you will yourself discover which method is the best method for your research. We have reduced PhD to a class 10th degree. As one has to get class 10th degree to get into class 11th, we have said you need to do PhD to become assistant professor if you are not net. I think this emphasis on PhD, emphasis on net, emphasis on the quantity of papers, 10 papers, 7 papers, all this has destroyed real teaching. In no selection committee in my long career, I have ever seen anybody being promoted because he is a great teacher. Many of my teachers did not do PhD, but they were excellent teachers. Doing PhD is easier than passing class 10th. If your supervisor has 2 to 3 friends in India or abroad, you will get a PhD. So this mechanical understanding that if you publish these many papers, if you have PhD, if you have net, you would be a great teacher is a flawed thing. I believe teachers are either born or they are made. Of course, I don't believe that criminals are born. There was a theory of Lombroso that criminals are born. Criminals are certainly made in the society. But there are people whom God has gifted ability to retain attention of the people, attention of their class. Many of us know that we are not able to retain for the entire class the attention of majority of our students. Therefore, the long list which your Vice-Chancellor has sent on very fancy, attractive, hi-fi topics about this course really don't matter. Quantitative, qualitative, case method, this and that. These are good because you have to just tick a box. We had 5 faculty development programs in 1 year. Tick for NAC. I can assure you, no such program has ever created good teachers or helped anybody to become a better teacher. And what I'm saying to you is not something I'm saying today or I'm saying just to teachers. Every single year for maybe last 2 decades or so, I'm going to Missouri to take a class in what is called Foundation Course of Indian Civil Servants. In the foundation course for first 3 months, you will have IAS, IFS, IPS, income tax, customs. You will have all services officers. And every single year I teach them. I feel this training is a waste. Why it is a waste? Because these people have been writing civil services. Many of them don't qualify in first attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt. For reserve categories, you have many more attempts. The average age in last 20 years I have seen of people getting into Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy of Administration has gone up. These are tired people, exhausted people. 5, 7 years of their life, they have been just memorizing this and that. Take them to the field, to the district. They will learn much more. Teaching them and then holding their exam. And I see most of them sleep in the class. Similarly for teachers. Take it from me in writing. Most of the teachers do refresher courses, orientation courses, just because there is a UGC requirement to do certain number of such courses to get a promotion from this scale to that scale and that scale to some other scale. This is not how you can improve teaching. If it is just another refresher course, another workshop which has been imposed on teachers either by UGC or by the university administration, they are just ticking a box. We did one faculty development program on this and that. So first of all, ideally, those who want to become teachers, they must be becoming teachers willingly, out of their free will and choice, not because they could not get this and that and finally they became teachers. 2, was it there in themselves urge to share knowledge, to create knowledge, to disseminate knowledge? If they don't have these 3 urges, they should not be the teachers. Many of us would have made excellent judges and excellent lawyers and excellent businessmen. Because we are not good enough for creation of knowledge. We don't want knowledge be spread. And we are not passionate about our classes. So as we say in Urdu poetry, that some poets par आमद होती है. They are God gifted, like Ghalib, for instance. And then कुछ लोगों पर आउर्द मेहनत करनी पड़ती है. So if you are not a born teacher, you have to invest. This investment should not be because of some UGC guideline or university requirement or Vice-Chancellor's insistence. It has to be your own resolve that this year I would teach like this and next year I would teach like this. I have been saying it for a few years that this is the best time to teach law. when I started teaching law way back in 1990, we were just doing Supreme Court judgments and the texts of law, bare act. Today you have to study law created by international organizations. Today you get to know even the judgments of the lower courts. That was not available to us. I used to go to Delhi Indian Law Institute to read Judgment Today, because in Aligarh we were not getting Judgment Today. Indian Law Institute used to get it. Even though it was named as Judgment Today, but the judgment was not published same day. In Judgment Today also you used to get judgment after 4 days, 5 days. And not all the judgments. And my going of Aligarh to Indian Law Institute was not like this, that I was going every week. So after 3-4 weeks, I will go to Indian Law Institute, sit there whole day, get few things photocopied, make notes of few things. Now I write for Indian Express. If the judgment is delivered, say around 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock by the Supreme Court, by 4 o'clock it is uploaded on their website. By 7 o'clock, I have to send my article on that judgment to Indian Express. So I read a Supreme Court judgment maybe running into 500 pages, 700 pages in just 3 hours. And in these 3 hours, I give bite to 1 or 2 television channels or 2 other newspapers who disturb me while I am preparing for my article of the Express. They will say, what is your opinion on this and that? So I will be having mobile and also typing and also reading. So to be a good teacher, you have to become a fast reader. And you cannot become a fast reader if you read like this. If you read like this, you have to read like this. In 3 hours time, 500, 700 pages you must read, understand what were the arguments, what was the finding of the court, whether it was right or it was wrong. And then what I do? I wait eagerly for another 1 week to 10 days. Every day I would search Indian Express for Upendra Bakshi's article, because Bakshi writes on the judgments as well, just like me, but he writes little late. I am given the first cut, as they say. And there is no bigger jurist in India than Professor Bakshi. He is a living legend. I read his article to see whether I have wrongly understood that judgment. Of course, his language is much superior. His understanding of law is absolutely out of word. But till date, I have not found that I committed any factual mistake in what I wrote in 3 hours. So if you are not a born teacher, then you have to first Be comfortable, be at ease, be contented that you are a teacher. मेरे और तबरेज के एक टीचर अलीगढ़ में हुआ करते थे, नाम नहीं लेना चाहता मैं, क्योंकि मुझे लग रहा है शायद एक दो और लोगों के भी टीचर रहे होंगे वो। हमने नया नया एलएलबी किया और हम एलएलएम ज्वाइन किया। सिंस मेरी फैमिली में देयर वर नंबर ऑफ आईएएस ऑफिसर्स, तो एक दिन इन्होंने मुझे बुलाया, यू शुड नॉट ज्वाइन टीचिंग, यू शुड बिकम अ सिविल सर्वेंट। टीचर को बेचारे को खाने के लिए नहीं है, फला नहीं है, ढिमा नहीं। एंड आई केम आउट बाय सेइंग, सर फिर तो पान बेचना चाहिए जोधपुर पे, इनकम टैक्स भी नहीं देना पड़ता पान वाले। So if you are taking teaching as a career which should give you prestige and which should give you comfort, then you are at the wrong place. Today, more opportunities are there. You can have a startup. You can mint money like anything. If you want parks and this and that, then be a tehsildar or a lekpal. During the British time, it used to be said that 1.5 people in the country have power. One is lekpal, half is district magistrate. So the first thing to be a teacher is not methods, case methods of teaching and case-based research, using new technologies for teaching and multidisciplinary research, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods approach, developing a strong research proposal and writing to get funded project, preparing legal research papers for high impact factor journals. This is the agenda of your course. Looks very fancy. None of these can make you a great teacher. No great teacher was made by doing X method of teaching and Y method of teaching. No. It will be a combination. It will come on its own. You will not know. It will come seamlessly. There will be topics for which you will rely on quantitative data. But if you as a teacher reads one third-rated textbook, when will you use quantitative data? I give you a blunt example. In last few years, we have done a lot of cow politics. What is the whole purpose of protection of cows? The purpose is that the number of cows should increase. There is a directive principle And then most of the states, out of 29, some 26, 27 states, not from today, for last 70 years, have cow protection laws. The famous Hanif Qureshi case is of 1950s. You had a law in Bihar. Somebody wanted to slaughter a cow on Bakr-Eid, and that's how the case reached the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said, well, cow slaughter is not an essential aspect of Islam. There is no duty on you to slaughter a cow on Bakr-Eid. So for 70 years, you have laws. And in last 5-7 years, each state has enhanced punishment for offenses under these laws. If you had 3 years, it was made 10 years. If you had 10 years, it was made life imprisonment. How many of us who will teach directive principles of state policy, tell me frankly, while teaching this directive principle, would even bother to read these laws? Forget about the quantitative part. If some go to those laws because there are judgments on those laws, in one judgment, even Supreme Court quoted the National Cattle Commission report. National Cattle Commission was constituted by Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government. The chairman was a former Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court and a two-time MP of BJP, Guman Lal Lodha. In the National Cattle Commission report लिखा है गाय का गोबर कोहिनूर से ज्यादा कीमती. सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट में आ गई ये बात. But as someone who is interested in quantitative techniques of teaching, what is the impact on the number of cows we have in the country of this directive principle and 26, 27 special laws which have been made by each state and where punishment has been enhanced drastically? And what is the comparison between the buffalo population and the cow population? I want to ask which constitutional law teacher teaching this directive principle would look at the cattle census in India. All this looks hi-fi quantitative technique. Where will be the time in the semester to teach this? There was a great professor in Aligarh, father of Professor Irfan Habib, Professor Muhammad Habib. Professor Muhammad Habib used to teach only 5 topics in a year. There was no semester system at that time. Just 5 topics. Can you as young teachers afford to do this? Your dean, your vice-chancellor, pro-vice-chancellor, director will straight away terminate your services. There is a race against time. The semester size, because of this internship business, has become very, very small. When I used to teach jurisprudence in a legal in my early days, did I teach you, Tabriz, jurisprudence or no?
Yes, sir. You taught me jurisprudence, constitutional law, IPR, three subjects.
It was an year-length system. Schools of jurisprudence I used to teach for about 50 periods. Entire jurisprudence I used to teach through schools. On each school, I used to teach cases and how Indian Islamic schools look at it. Hindu philosophy, how it would look at sociological school or historical school or the positivist school. Today, if I want to do this, even as Vice-Chancellor, if I teach jurisprudence, I cannot do it. Because we used to start our classes in July and go until May. There was only some 10 days winter break. Now our semester size varies from 16 weeks to 20 weeks. That is what Bar Council also says. So the time for reflection and time for an in-depth discussion on any one topic is not there. हम लोग घास काट रहे हैं बस. ये टॉपिक खत्म, वो टॉपिक खत्म, इस पे टेस्ट है, इस पे मिड सेमेस्टर है, इस पे प्रोजेक्ट है. That's it. There is no real teaching going on. So going back to my example, you have just like human census, cattle census. Look at the cattle census tables. What was the population of cows in 1950? What is their population today? What was the population of buffaloes in 1950? What is their population today? And remember, at least 1/3 of buffaloes are slaughtered every year. In English, there is no two words for cow flesh and buffalo flesh, so they are called beef. India, after Brazil, is the biggest exporter of beef. In spite of all big, words like pink revolution, which was used in 2014 campaign. So many buffaloes got slaughtered, and it takes few years for them to mature, yet there is a huge increase, about 150% increase in the buffalo population. And the number of cows is going down in states where you are having stringent laws. What is the conclusion? The more stringent law you will make, rather than leading to protection of cow, it will lead to extinction of cow. People will stop rearing cow. Therefore, rather than doing a service to Gomata, we may be doing a disservice. How many of us can bring this quantitative data to a class because of the timetable constraints? And how many of our students will be willing to undertake this discussion without getting, sentimental? That is the challenge. Whichever subject we teach, what is our teaching method today? We read one book, whatever cases are given there, we read it. Selection committee after selection committee, I ask people only one question. Tell me the 5 cases you have read from the reports cover to cover. And believe me, forget about the quantitative researches being used in teaching. The current generation of teachers don't have time to read original cases. Recently, we had a selection committee. Family law expert. Specialization, there are 4 articles, this and that. I said, Shabano padha hai? No. Shaira Bano padha hai? No. Daniel Latifi padha hai? No. Sir, book mein padha hai. Book mein padhne se case padhna nahi mana jata. Any law teacher who discusses any case in the class without reading that case in original is a bad teacher and can never become a good teacher. You do whatever you want to do in terms of faculty development program. And I can give you the smallest of the example. Tabriz used to teach contract. In contract, in general offer and specific offer and this and that, you read Avtar Singh, you read Ensign, and the same case, it is available on net. You download Carlyle versus Carbolic Smoke Ball Company, read it, and then to the class, and you yourself see the difference. So to be a good teacher, I think it is necessary that we read cases, and we read cases in original. I think no one can be a good teacher if he is not passionate about teaching. होती है मुझे आज भी. As I enter the class, टांगे कपकपाती हैं. नींद नहीं आती रात में, कई बार आंख खुलती है कि कल क्लास लेना है. डर और घबराहट होती है कि अच्छा इस बात को ऐसे नहीं, अब के ऐसे कहते हैं, अब के ऐसे कहते हैं. Standing in front of a class is no joke. Tabriz has also worked with a very senior teacher whom I had appointed when I was the director of KIT Law School. Ajappa sir.
Yes, sir.
The man was in 80s. On my request, he came out of retirement and then taught. One day I went to him, and this is evening. His class is next day. On his bed, different articles, Xerox copies are all over. Rolls, this, that, Ras, all books. I said, what are you doing? Oh, I have a class tomorrow. I'm not able to read enough, so I will get up tomorrow early morning. Normally I get up at 4. Tomorrow I will get up at 3. When you get that kind of passion, then you become a great teacher. One evening, he walked into my room. Pinaki, a colleague of mine, and Shri Rupa were sitting. So he started shouting at me. Why did you bring me here? I was comfortable in my retired life in Mysore. There is no work for me. And Shri Rupa and Pinaki are enjoying. Director साहब के ऊपर डांट पड़ रही है. Then I said, "I just chai piye." No. I had several teas. Then I asked him, "Sir, which classes you took today?" And this was his reply. 2 hours of labor law, 2 hours of family law, 2 hours of jurisprudence. A man in his 80s, he was 83 then, who has taken 6 lecture hours, is telling the director in the evening, why did you bring me? I have no work here. I cannot teach 6 hours. I was the Vice-Chancellor in Cuttack. So 2 teachers went on leave. So I took my class of Constitution, and then I took criminal law class, and then I took some legal method class, how to determine the ratio of something. And my vocal cord started giving me trouble, and Professor Ajappa came from Bhubaneswar. And when he saw that I am having difficulty in speaking, again he shouted at me. You are a Vice-Chancellor. You are not supposed to teach. You have to get the work done from others. And that is why I was telling Tabriz, these days when I don't teach, it is not right on my part to tell others how to teach. This administration has completely destroyed my teaching ability. I hardly get a chance to teach. So one has to be patient, passionate about teaching. One has to start loving teaching. You have to fall in love with your profession. And I also feel that you cannot be a passionate teacher if you teach in what you don't believe. Law teaching cannot be free of politics, free of ideology. I told Ravish Kumar to do a show with me. Even Ravish could not get this courage. I said Supreme Court is the court of politics. All disputes which go to the court, Supreme Court, basically have political repercussions. Supreme Court is the final arbiter of politics of the country. So if the court has to decide constitutionality of electoral bonds, there will be a political fallout of it. The decision of the court on Rafale had a political fallout. Linking of Aadhaar with voter ID will have a political fallout. Every question which is a legal question will have some politics behind it. But whatever be your ideology, that should not dictate your teaching. You have to use teaching to test what are the problems with your ideology. You have to tell students, I feel this, the other view is this, the third view is this, and let there be a debate. Through that debate, you will know how flawed is your ideology, how bad is your politics. So teaching gives you an opportunity to write better papers. Because every paper you write, there would be some view of yours. Test that view in the class. We are 60, 70 students may be invited to react to that view. And if after testing that, you write your paper, you will write a better paper. Constitutional law is all about politics. Even criminal law has become all about politics. IPR is all about politics. There is a politics of IPR. Healthcare law, there is a politics to it. There are people who are pro-vaccination. There are people who are against vaccination. There is a whole pharma industry which is governed by politics. Don't understand politics just in terms of political parties. Political parties are not the real politician, somebody else. There is one, what is called jurisprudence publique. There is one jurisprudence confidentially. What corporates want. What is the corporate politics? What is the corporate government relationship? When labor law reforms were introduced in the United States, so this law was brought in that there will be an 8-hour work for the labor. You can't take from them more than an hour. You have a Supreme Court judgment striking down this law, saying it would lead to change of power from capital to labor. The power will go in the hands of labor, and this cannot happen. The power must always remain with capital. Law is not just in the sections and articles. Law is not just in cases. You cannot be a good law teacher if you don't read fiction, if you don't read literature, if you don't read autobiographies and biographies, if you don't read newspapers. I read 4 to 5 papers every day. You need to read magazines. And of course, you need to read journals. So much is available today. During my time, we used to get only print copies of few journals. Therefore, if you want to be a good teacher, ideally be an ideologically neutral, but if you have an opinion, test the correctness of your opinion in your class. Let the student demolish your opinion. That will give you an idea to write a better paper. Watch movies. I use a lot of movies in my classes. I use a lot of dialogues in my classes. In fact, all of us are actors and actresses. You cannot be a great teacher if you don't have some dramatic skills. A teacher is a performer. Every class has to be a performance. And there is a difference between a film actor and a teacher. A film actor has to memorize dialogues. Somebody else gives dialogues. Somebody else gives the script. Somebody else is a photographer, and somebody else is the director and the producer, and somebody else will give you the music. You are your own producer, your own director, your own script writer, your own dialogue delivery person. You are the master. It is your script. And you should change your script every year. There are teachers about whom you have jokes that in teaching economics, they said, according to the latest rates, you have 15 rupees in $1. According to the latest data of 1963, this happened or that happened, because they never updated their notes. I had one teacher who taught me evidence, who also taught most of his time in Delhi University. You must have seen his book, Criminology, Ahmad Siddiq. So when I prepared my lecture in the first year of my teaching, so I was coming from the class and I was just arranging my papers. So Ahmad Sahab was going to his class. He just said, meet me after my class. So I went to him. He said, what did you teach today? So I said, I taught, this historical school. I was teaching journalism. So he said, just show me what did you teach. So I went to my chamber, brought my lecture, and then he torn it and threw it in his dustbin. He said, never keep your lecture, because if you have your lecture, you will repeat it next year and then subsequent years. Every time make a fresh notes for your class lecture. At that time, we did not have all this PPT business. Today, you can make PPTs, but update them, edit them, remove dated information from there, bring new cases, and don't try to teach everything. Don't try to teach everything. On a topic, you decide which 3-4 points are most important. Don't pass on information. No student today needs information. Information is already on net. They need analysis. I give you one example. Recently, the government of India proposed a bill increasing the age of marriage. Now, many Muslim clergymen, ulema, opposed it and said that it is an interference in our personal law. Then they asked me, I think Hindu did a story and then Hindustan Times did a story probably. I said my consistent position is that piecemeal reform should be brought in personal laws. So in a single stroke, if you bring a uniform civil code, there will be opposition, the fanatics will hijack the debate, and nothing concrete can be done. So go slow in reform, bring it one reform today, another reform tomorrow, the third reform day after. And then they quoted this in their news item. Then many people phoned me and said, well, Professor Mustafa, don't you know that what you say it carries weight and you are saying piecemeal reform should come? I said, well, I don't say things to get appreciation or endorsement. I have repeatedly written that uniformity of laws in itself is not a great value. More than a uniform civil code, I want just code. All laws must be just, must be compatible with the Constitution. I have also written that legal pluralism is considered to be a better thing. So you may have different laws, but all laws must be gender just. Then these people started saying that, well, you see that this is an interference and freedom of religion violation, this and that. Then I made one video, as you know, that to disseminate legal knowledge, I made a YouTube channel called Legal Awareness Web Series, where now I have about 5 crore viewers. So I made a video and I said that on the one hand, the global understanding is that the age of marriage is generally 18. Therefore, from where this logic of 21 came, nobody knows. 2, I said that don't quote Prophet's marriage with Bibi Aisha to justify child marriages. And therefore, I did little research. And I found that when she was married, she was 21. Now, this is the view which is not commonly accepted by the ulama. But I did a thorough research. With pen and paper, looking at the chronology, so to say, her name is there in the first people who embrace Islam. And that event is happening in a particular year. The marriage is happening in a particular year. I looked at her sister's age. I also looked at the age at which Prophet married his own daughters. I also went to the source from which this information came. There is only one person who has said it. And his own disciples, Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, have not accepted it. This man Hisham, he migrated from Medina to Iraq. And then he had a loss of memory. So when in Iraq he's saying she was married at Tis, which is 9. But he forgot to say Tis Ashra, which is 10. And that's why no other narrator has accepted this. There was 10-year difference between her and her elder sister Asma. And there is a record that she died at a particular age in this year. So I calculated backward. Similarly, in one battle, there is a evidence that she is giving water to the injured soldiers in the battleground. Now, in a battle, Prophet has not allowed even boys, young boys. How can young girls be allowed? And with all this calculation, I said this whole theory is wrong. Her marriage with Prophet is not a case of child marriage. She was most likely married at 19 and she went to live with Prophet at 21. Can we use this when we are teaching family law and we are teaching who is eligible for marriage? The whole issue of choice, whole issue of permitting live-in, age of consent, these are the issues. Just because we increase it to 21 and everything gets sorted. This is ridiculous. Law does not solve any problem. You have death penalty for murder since time immemorial. Every year, the number of murders which are committed is going up. Kidnapping, abduction, rape, we have been increasing punishments. Our child marriage law is 100 years old. Lakhs and lakhs of girls are married not only in India, but in the other parts of the world who are below 18 every year. I would urge you to see that video. How many people are getting married between 15 to 18? In India, in spite of a law which is 100 years old, 1/4 of our marriages are below that. And when in this law, like our child marriage restraint law, we have not made marriage void. So marriage remains valid. What is going to be the impact then? Do we do a critical analysis of laws in our class? Or do we just cover the syllabus? If you cover the syllabus, you will not be a great law teacher. Covering the syllabus doesn't make anybody a great teacher. Making the students aware of current developments through the topics which are given in syllabus. Marriage will be a topic which will be taught every year in a family law paper because it is a compulsory paper as per BCI rules. But tell me, who teaches in the marriage class giving numbers that these many people were married in this age and these many people were married at this age? Do we bring empirical surveys to our class? No. One, we don't have time. Two, we don't have interest. Three, we don't read ourselves. And since we don't do it, students are not interested in our classes. Students will take interest in your class if you don't teach them what is written in the textbook. They can read it on their own. Teach them things about which they have some quest. Address that quest. No family law teacher teaches Rukmani Bai case, because of which this whole child marriage restraint law eventually came. Somebody was married at a very young age, then the husband said that you now come, and she refused. That case led to the change in law. And finally, I would say, to be a great teacher, you have to have humor. You have to have wit. And this wit has to be natural. It has to come on its own. And it comes when you use literature. I use a lot of couplets in my class. Read whichever literature you want to read. Read novels. There was a law, I will end on this. There is a case called airport hostesses case. Nargesh Mirza or something. So air hostesses of Air India were not permitted to marry for certain years after entering into the job. This is a typical sexist, male chauvinistic view. that air hostesses must look young and they must be females. It's a very, very regressive, dated idea. And if they become mothers, then their figure will adversely affect. So when the matter went to the court said, no, motherhood is very great. Prohibiting someone from becoming pregnant is absolutely wrong. Strike it down. But on the prohibition of marrying within certain years of service, they said, no, this is fine. It will lead to population control. So whenever I teach, I create a lot of humor. How many Air India air hostesses are there? And if they do not marry within these many years, how much India's population will go down? And in that humorous way, this will get permanently registered in a student's mind that this is an absolutely absurd observation. This has no impact whatsoever on family planning. Do we look at the fertility rate, replacement rates? Already we have reached the desirable level. Going below that level may create problems for us. Japan, Denmark, and several other countries are facing this problem. You will have aged population which will not be productive. A good class is one for which students wait. They must look forward to your class. आज सर पढ़ाने वाले हैं. And then, of course, you must teach them at a level so that they go absolutely contented and satisfied after your class. You must fulfill their aspirations and expectations. And no student expects that you teach them what is written in the textbook. Textbooks are for students, not for teachers. You don't read any textbook. They will read textbook. You will not read textbook. You should read articles. You should read reference books. You should read literature. You should read original cases. That's it. And don't teach 500 cases in one course. If you teach even 7 to 8 cases at length, good enough. But teach them in detail and teach them analytically and critically. Okay, so I'll stop here. If there are questions, I'm more than willing to answer them.
So in fact, I cancelled 2-3 meetings just to attend your class. You still have that aspiration of your attending your classes of my childhood, student life in AMU.
Sir, can we ask questions?
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
Morning, sir. It's always a pleasure listening to you, sir. I think everybody has woken up today in so much cold and literally wanted to hear you out. So, sir, it was always a pleasure. So, I'm Sania Kapoor Vadva, Assistant Professor GD Goenka, and I have a question. So,
Yeah, please
I'm
go ahead.
pursuing my PhD, well, from GD Goenka as well. So, why is it essential that everybody around you, your seniors and your colleagues, always tell you that research paper important hai, seed money important hai, PhD important hai? Well, why can't just the expertise of the professor or the person who knows how to teach should be taken into consideration. Why is this a problem in India where they say ki itni padhai karoge to hi jaake you will get a job like that or something like that? Why can't the capability of a person or a student or a professor can be taken into consideration? Why is net so important? I don't understand. I mean, I understand it's a mandated thing from the UGC. I understand that, but why is it all so essential?
Good question, Vadva. I have given an expansion of net, even though I myself qualified it. I also got JRF. I said it means not eligible for teaching. And late Professor Menon liked it so much that everywhere he used to quote me that Faizan has given an appropriate expansion of net. Net means not eligible for teaching. This is a hopeless test. I have seen many people who have done net who are good for nothing. And therefore, I had introduced a written test. I myself test people whom I appoint in Nalsar or I appointed in Cuttack, National Law University, Odisha. I introduced that test just to get a confessional statement from net qualified people. They write so hopelessly that I can show it to any court that this is what they have written. You see, I think you joined a little late. I said it in the beginning. There is no perfect formula which will tell you that you are a good teacher. It has to be a subjective decision. It is to be taken by your teachers. All this net, PhD, 2 paper, 5 paper, Scopus paper, these are all absurd, ridiculous things. I don't believe in them. Seed money, all this.
Sir, can we quote you when we are told to do some Scopus? We can quote you and tell that.
No. You look, you have all kinds of third-rated papers in Scopus. There are journals in Scopus which are third-rated magazines. Urdu and Hindi magazines are there. In the sorry, not Scopus. This UGC Careless. What is UGC Careless? Yeah. Komal? Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Unmute कर लीजिए.
Komal, you need to unmute.
Yeah, I'm traveling. Maybe my voice is clear. My voice is audible.
After you type your question, I will respond. Komal, you type your question, I would respond. Somebody else.
Good morning, everyone. Okay. No.
Yes, please go ahead.
Not here. Not here. Registrar Saab.
Sir, thank you so much. I'm Dr. Devendra Parihar, Registrar of the University, sir. Always a pleasure listening from you. I follow you on YouTube, TV channels, and avid reader of your articles. I just have a small question, which is out of what you have mentioned, that Supreme Court, which is an apex arbitrator, is politicized. Now, my question is, how can it is evident more so now, apparently visible than before? How can we make the court in such a way that these progressively politicizations that is happening is being corrected? Thank you, sir.
No, Registrar, it has always been politicized. When you had this whole Golaknath, Keshavanand Bharati, Indira Nehru Gandhi case, all these were political. So, any Supreme Court, be it Indian Supreme Court or American Supreme Court, basically decides political questions. We don't say it because either we respect courts too much, or we don't have the courage to speak the truth. The truth is that every case which reaches any Supreme Court anywhere in the world, will have political ramifications. Just to give you an example, in American Supreme Court now the conservative judges are more and liberal judges are less. So their famous 1973-74 judgment of Roe versus Wade is likely to be overruled now. So that will have a political judgment only. So point is that a legal class has to have some politics. Constitutional law is all about politics. We should try to understand that politics, and we should try to objectively discuss that politics without taking sides. So we should never attribute motives to judges. We should look at their argument, and we should criticize or appreciate judgment. And we should never say this judge was motivated to do this or do. Then you land up in contempt. But as far as their reasoning is concerned, that is to be criticized.
Thank you, sir. Sir, should there be some cool-off period before our judges can join Rajya Sabha or can get into a political party?
No, how can we prevent it? You see, judges after retirement are free citizens of the country. So they should be free to join whichever political party they want to join and contest elections and win elections. There is absolutely no problem. The only thing is, should they be nominated? That is the thing. Because if they are nominated, then this will give rise to the suspicion that when they were on the bench, they were favoring government, which will not be good for the reputation of the court. But there is no bar in joining political party and contesting election. They can and they should.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Gulfishan and Javed.
Good morning, sir.
Good
So
morning.
you were talking about the marriageable age. Sir, the panel which is discussing about the marriageable age, they are having only one woman member.
This is wrong.
So it's
Absolutely
totally
wrong.
absurd, sir. What I am feeling right now, whatever the lawmakers or whatever the syllabus we are making, it's totally absurd. The common sense and the rationality behind everything, it's lacking. And the situation is highly irreparable.
No. On this panel, having one woman is an insult. Ideally, it should be a panel where you should have more women than men.
Yes, sir. You are making law for us, and you are not asking us. It's something that we are telling man that you can't have beard, and you are not asking any male member. What should be? It's something. It's the one. It's totally insult, and it's highly illogical. What they are doing, what they want to do, it's totally absurd.
Right. They should have more women on the panel. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other?
Sir, I am Amresh. Thank you very much for joining us. It was nice listening to you. So my question is, since you have long observed the courts, the proceedings, and the academic system and our parliamentary debates also, my question is, what kind of change you have seen? Whether it is more politicization of the legal affairs or the rationalization of politics? What has happened more?
No, as I responded to Registrar, not only Indian Supreme Court, all courts, as the Supreme Courts of respective countries, have to deal with questions which have political fallout. Now, when court sits in full, like say in US Supreme Court, all 9 judges will hear all the matters. So that is a better thing than 2 judges and 3 judges sitting and deciding this way or that way. The political influence or political fallout has always been there. The only thing is that since we live in a social media age, more things are discussed today than they used to be discussed earlier. Keshavanand, Golaknath were absolutely Parliament versus Supreme Court, government versus Supreme Court, lot of politics there. So Subba Rao, was a Chief Justice against the government, a dissenting judge. He fought the election of the president. So I will not say that some very major change has happened today. The only thing is that there is more discussion about this change, or we know more now because so many TV channels are there, YouTube channels are there, so many legal websites are there. But otherwise, I don't see that any substantive change is there. After all, most of the cases government win. And in most of the cases, government is a party. 85% of all cases we have, government is one of the party. And most of the judges who are elevated, they have been the government lawyers. Any other?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Zikra Jabin. I'm doing PhD from GD Goenka University. I want to ask, sir, can we say that law is interrelated with literature, politics, and even theater, sociology, which theater show the reality of our society, the real implication of law. Can we say it, sir?
Yes, of course. You cannot understand or teach law in isolation. Law is definitely connected to all this. In fact, if you go to Raipur, go to National Law University, Raipur, which is called Hidayatullah National Law University, and look at Justice Hidayatullah's library. Most of the books are on literature, very few books are on law.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, may I ask a question to you, sir? My question is
Sure.
so how you manage your research as well as your administration very efficiently?
I have not managed my research. I am a real failure, so to say, in research. I think this administration, which I have been now doing for many years, because you see, I joined teaching in 1996. I was appointed as this Director of Coaching and Guidance Center and Career Planning Center. Then I was there till 2000. And from 2005, when I became registrar, till now, I am doing administration. And this has a very heavy toll on my research and on my teaching. And that is why, as my term comes to an end in Nalsar, I am very seriously now thinking of going back to teaching and research. I probably had enough of administration. 3 terms I have done as Vice-Chancellor, and 1 term as Director, and 1 as Dean and this registrar. So I think I had enough of administration. I don't know who will take me, but that is what is very much on my mind now, that no more administration.
But sir, you became more efficient because your YouTube channel is growing like anything. We are getting updates every
But
week.
that is not a research, because that is a dissemination. That is a dissemination on basic things. I'm trying to create legal literacy, and the Chief Justice of India was very kind when he came to Nalsar for convocation address. he appreciated it. In fact, he, from his written speech, read 2 paragraphs about me, and he said that I have made the best use of social media platform. And the government of India asked me to record 15 videos for a basic course in Constitution, conceptual course in Constitution. And in 1 month, 182,000 people registered for this course. So this is not research. This is more, you can say, in the dissemination field. Of course, each year I have been writing 1 or 2 articles in terms of research, and I have been writing a lot in newspapers. In last 2 years, I have not written much, but earlier I have been writing quite frequently. So that was the reason of writing those articles, was since I was not able to produce a good research paper which requires in-depth research, just to initiate public debate or participate in public debate, I was just flagging issues through my newspaper articles. But to be very honest, Tabriz, I think I destroyed myself as a researcher. By remaining in administration, I think I did a disservice to my research career.
No, sir, you established several law schools, several universities, and so the kind of analysis we bring to the YouTube channel, that requires a lot of also research and analysis. That's not very easy to do.
Yes, but in terms of quality research publications, which had I not been in administration, I would have certainly done. I have not been able to.
We can take a last question because sir has given sufficient time. It is really great to have 1.5 hour lecture from sir. We can have last one question.
Komal, you type your question, I will respond.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, Ashu.
Sir, could I ask one question?
You can write your voice.
I'm connected through phone. That's why I can't. So can I ask a question just now?
I want to.
My question.
Komal ma'am, please. I think. Please.
1 minute. Komal, you can write the question in the chat box and ask. You can ask. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we all are blessed to hear this session this morning. Thank you very much for this amazing session, sir. The divinity in the thought process of yours for an ideal teacher. Trust me, it's amazing, sir. My question to you is, sir, that if given a chance by the government of India, that to you, what would be the rubrics you would like to introduce into the system for education to evaluate the performance of the assistant professors during their annual process, appraisal process? Would like to hear from you, sir. Thank you.
What I am going to say may not be good for Tabriz and Registrar, but this is what I believe. Any annual appraisal of teachers is a bad thing. You have this annual appraisal of employees in the government, what are called annual confidential reports. And believe me, Ashu, I joined teaching because there was no ACR. Converting teachers into non-teaching employees and bureaucrats is a very, very regressive step. Very, very regressive step. You can't be asking teachers semester to semester and year to year, okay, what is your performance? Because knowledge creation does not happen in a mechanical way. Maybe for 2 years I don't write anything, and in 3rd year I write one paper, and that paper, makes waves in the entire, legal fraternity. So, personally speaking, I don't believe in annual appraisal reports. I have not prepared it for anyone during my long career as an administrator, and I have always opposed it. The only thing which should be done, that every semester, whatever course you have taught, student feedback is to be taken. And for student feedback also, the teacher may not be punished, but he should be told that these are your areas in which you need to improve. But if a teacher is a biased and arbitrary evaluator and a prejudiced evaluator, then I have not spared such a teacher. I have terminated their services. A teacher has to be absolutely even-handed and absolutely fair in evaluation. He should come on time. He should teach for the entire duration of time. The class should not be one-way traffic. The student suggestions in adding new topics or in dropping old topics should be considered. So student feedback is an important parameter which must be collected every semester and must be discussed by the Vice-Chancellor with the teacher so that the teacher improves. You know, there has to be some difference between a district administration and a university administration, between dealing with non-teaching employees and academicians. Increasingly, we are converting our university into government departments. Yesterday, somebody suggested, I very strongly reacted in writing, that there should be transfer of teachers from one university to other university in central universities. I think it's absolutely ridiculous suggestion. I had to write it that universities are bad because there are no transfers. And I said, government is very efficient. There is no corruption in government. All government employees are performing efficiently because there are transfers in central government and state government. The transfer is not a problem. The problem is the appointment. In the recruitment of teachers, if we are fair, then ideally we should give the autonomy to the teacher to develop his course and then see how students reacted to that course. And if some course correction is to be done, it should be done in a respectful manner. If I cannot respect my young colleagues, many vice-chancellors think that they have descended from heaven. अरे यार, हम भी कल temporary teacher थे. I was an ad hoc teacher for 6 long years. Isn't so? So I'm sorry, but all these mechanical processes, I'm against. Ashu, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the takeaway for me will be I could sense the spirituality in education by, actually bringing out the compassion to your teaching classroom. Thank you so much for enlightening us all, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Tabriz, sir, for giving me the opportunity to ask questions. Thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Any other
close here? There is no chance for having the next question. We can ask the vote of thanks if somebody is ready.
Sir, I, on behalf of School of Law, GD Goenka University, convey sincere thanks and gratitude to Professor Faizan sir for not only sparing his invaluable time for us to grace this FDP, but also for enlightening us with his commendable talk on this subject. Very much thankful to you, sir. And I am very much thankful to Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Tabriz Ahmad, sir, for his kind presence. And I'm also very much thankful to the convener and HOD and all the participants for their kind presence. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Dear participants, there is a feedback link which is given in the chat box. Kindly fill it because the link is open for 15 minutes. And apart from that, our session 2 is going to start from 11:30. The link is also provided in the chat box. The next session is on how technology has advanced participatory research methods. And after that, from 2 o'clock, we will have our session 3, which is on case study as a research method. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And apart from that, on 14th we will declare our result, because on 13th of on 14th, which is the last session, that is that is at 2 p.m., we will provide a Google form which will contain few cues on all the session which has been covered. So on the basis of the performance, we will declare 3 winners. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aditi. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. The participants who have filled the feedback form, they can leave the meet. We will again meet at 11:30 a.m. Thank you. Purvi, you can write your question in the chat box. We will reach the Faizan sir for the answer regarding your question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Can we leave this meeting if